Prosecutors in Lindsay Clancy's triple murder trial presenting rebuttal witnesses today to testify about her mental state, and closing arguments could begin as soon as tomorrow. We have Fox team coverage for you. We've got Jonathan Turley and Donna Rotunno just ahead. Bryan Llenas is outside the court there in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and will give us the current story. Bryan?
Sandra, good afternoon. We are in a lunch break. Court resumes at 2 p.m. The defense says Lindsay Clancy killed her 3 children because a male voice commanded her to do it. But the prosecution says her medical records, well, they don't show any history of auditory hallucinations. They say the male voice only appeared the afternoon of the killings and never again after. Today, prosecution psychologist Dr. Kirk Heilbrunn testified that Clancy admitted her dark thoughts were her own intrusive thoughts and not a male voice.
I asked her the question, when you were experiencing these thoughts, were they like your own thoughts or were they like auditory hallucinations? And she said they were like my own thoughts. And she made it clear that they were unwelcome and intrusive, but they were like my own thoughts.
Prosecutors point to the fact that Lindsay Clancy sent her then-husband on errands to a local CVS and a restaurant during the killings and was able to answer his phone call about medication he was picking up. The prosecution says Clancy knew these intrusive thoughts were bad, knew that killing her children was wrong, could control her actions, and therefore is criminally responsible. Prosecutors note her then-husband testified she had a seemingly normal day. He said one of her better days, in fact, building a snowman and going to a pediatric doctor's appointment. The defense argues those struggling with postpartum psychosis like Clancy can exhibit normal behaviors and have a sudden shift. Clancy's defense claims she had a sudden temporary psychotic episode, but another prosecution expert today says she was not psychotic.
No, she did not display psychotic features.
I didn't ask about psychotic features. I'm asking you about delusional beliefs and distorted reality, doctor.
That is a type of psychosis.
Okay.
So I didn't see any evidence of any psychotic features throughout the medical records.
Prosecution's experts say she had major depressive episode, bipolar, but none of them are saying that she was psychotic or had postpartum psychosis. Sandra?
Goodness. All right, Bryan Llenas, thank you. John?
All right, Sandra, let's break it down by bringing in Jonathan Turley and Donna Rotunno. Donna, let's start with you. Paul Morrow said earlier today on Fox that he believes that the case is going to come down to closing arguments and who the jury thinks makes the more compelling case. What do you think?
I agree with Paul, John. Here I am listening to these experts go back and forth, and frankly, one question they answer I think is better for the other side, and then they fix it with another answer. I think at some point you're going to have fatigue from this jury. I think too many rebuttal witnesses may backfire on the prosecution, given the fact that I think the defense is making some way here with these witnesses. I don't think that they're slam dunk one way or another. I think this jury is going to evaluate the evidence that they've heard, including these doctors, but not only these doctors. They're going to look at everything they've seen in the courtroom. They're going to their own emotion, their own observations. Everything's going to be taken into consideration. Their common sense. Although we have said this will come down to a battle of the experts, there is definitely a battle of the experts. But at the end of the day, I think the jury is going to look at a variety of pieces of evidence before they make their decision. And I do think the way each side decides to present this to the jury will make a difference in closing arguments in terms of the way the jury shapes this in their minds.
In terms of the battle of the experts, Professor Turley, the defense had a couple of very compelling experts, including Dr. Philip Resnick, who basically said, yeah, Lindsay Clancy was psychotic and didn't know what she was doing. This is what he said.
At the time of the crime itself, on January 24, 2023, Ms. Clancy was frankly psychotic. My opinion is that Ms. Clancy was, due to her mental disease, unable to conform her conduct was to the requirements of the law on the day that she took the lives of her children.
So what he's basically saying is it doesn't matter what happened leading up to that, whether or not she heard her own voice or other voices in her head or had any psychotic breaks or whatever, but at that moment, she was in a state of psychosis and had no idea what she was doing. What do you think of that argument?
Well, John, I still think the defense has the upper hand here. I think that they've done a really impressive job in constructing this defense. Keep in mind, this is a state that heavily favors the defense in making this type of argument. But the biggest challenge for the prosecutors may be the crime itself. That is, killing your children is something that goes against nature. It's unthinkable for a mother to take the lives of her children. The jury is likely to view it that way. When you have experts saying, here's the reason, that can create doubt. And I'd be surprised if the prosecutors could get a unanimous jury. Because what the prosecutors are saying, but they presented some witnesses saying, look, here are moments of clarity. And they've done a good job with that. They said, look at her relationship with her husband. Look at how she dispatched him. These are planning thoughts. These are cognitive efforts to create the opportunity to kill her children. But it still leaves the jury with the unthinkable. Why did she do it? What compelled her to do it? And I think that many jurors in this fog of this case are likely to say, I've got doubts as to whether she was in total control of her emotions and her actions.
And to that point, Professor, I mean, this case has divided people. I just want to finish off with this. This is from the New York Times. For many, it's evidence that the United States neglects new mothers and fails to properly care for maternal mental health. Others are outraged that the methodical killing of 3 innocents could be treated as anything other than murder. They see the nearly $1 million that has been donated to a fund for Ms. Clancy's parents as evidence of cultural rot. No question this case evokes strong feelings on both sides. We'll see where it goes tomorrow. Thank you for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Sandra?
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.